dissent is a necessary ingredient of change.
But fear remained a staple in political advertising, and now the blood was in color.
That justifies resort to violence. Let us recognize that the first civil right of every American is to be free from domestic violence. So I pledge to you, we shall have order in the United States.
I don't think Kennedy's qualified to be president.
I don't think he has any credibility.
This year's attack commercials have tried to be more subtle.
I don't trust him.
I've taken a chance with Kennedy.
I'm a vote.
Jimmy Carter wanted to plant the idea that you can't trust Edward Kennedy. Using real people was nicer than going on camera himself and saying, remember Chappaquiddick.
Between Kennedy and Carter, I would definitely go with Carter myself. I trust him.
Re-elect President Carter, a solid man in a sensitive job.
Whatever that might mean, or the solitude and the serenity.
To counter the attack, Kennedy ads tried to show him as a devoted family man.
I suppose the greatest source of happiness in my life has been the relationships with my family, my wife and my children and my brothers and my sisters, my parents. You have a games day tomorrow?
Yeah.
Can I come too? I don't want to play.
What?
Do they have the dads? Do they play too?
Kennedy.
The straightforward pitch has survived the test of time.
What does leadership really mean if we can't openly discuss the sacrifices that will be required from all of us in this decade?
Anderson for president.
Commercials can create name recognition and even an identity for an unknown candidate.
There's a lot of psychiatry in this business, in a sense, and you detect a strength, you detect a sincerity or a commitment, and you then try to create environments that will dramatize that.
George Bush.
There is a change in America today. You can see it.
You know, at the time this presentation was filmed, George was not exactly a household word. But as we show him here, being interviewed by the multitudes of press and being applauded by the crowds, I think we give the viewer the feeling that he or she has been missing out on something.
We're going to win.
George Bush, a president we won't have to train.
Ronald Reagan believes that when you tax something, you get less of it. We're taxing.
And there is always plain old deception. Ronald Reagan got caught making up some history that never happened.
I didn't always agree with President Kennedy, but when his 30% federal tax cut became law, the economy did so well that every group in the country came out ahead. Even the government gained $54 billion in unexpected revenues. If I become president, we're going to try that again.
You have been saying in your television ads that you didn't always agree with President Kennedy, but he found that a 30% tax cut helped almost everybody in the country, and that if you were elected president, you'd cut taxes 30% the same way he did.
Well, no, I don't know what the rate of cut was. I said that he went for a broad-based cut in the income tax. I don't know what the percentage of that cut was.
I didn't always agree with President Kennedy, but when his 30% federal tax cut became law, the economy did so well that every group in the country came out ahead.
Do you remember saying those words?
I don't remember saying that because I honestly don't know what the rate of tax cut was.
Well, perhaps someone else wrote them for you. And
I'm sure I don't even remember reading that.
Douglas Bailey, media consultant for Howard Baker.
I don't think you can sell somebody for something that he's not. I don't think, for example, in 1968, if the people doing Richard Nixon's advertising tried to sell him as an honest human being, that they would have gotten very far. They sold him as a competent human being or public servant, which he was. And that was effective. I don't think you can sell somebody for something that they aren't.
But you can try. Bailey's company can hire good cameramen and film editors. Those people can take an ordinary political event with a low-key candidate. Then with some quick cuts and amplified applause, you have a dynamic leader in a dramatic confrontation.
There's 50,000 barrels of oil for the Shah's army to kill the Iranian people. Why weren't you concerned about international law?
Because, my friend, I'm interested in 50 Americans, that's why. And when those 50 Americans are raised, I'm perfectly willing to talk about this. The America you once trusted is found.
A good commercial. Maybe too good. To get elected, American politicians project themselves as video heroes. Then as public officials, they look a lot less than heroic. But they want to make the most of those 30 seconds. After all, they're paying a lot for them. It's television commercials that made presidential politics so expensive. Does a political system bother you in which taxpayers' money, significant amounts of it, are in fact rechanneled into network television for political advertising?
Sure. But again, this wouldn't be nearly so severe if it weren't for the restrictions of Section 315. All the networks have said over and over again that they're ready to give significant amounts of free time to the major candidates in various formats, debates, joint press interviews, documentaries, one-on-one interviews in depth, but they can't under Section 315.
Section 315 is the federal law mandating that all candidates must receive equal television time except on certain news broadcasts. If 315 or other provisions were lifted, what effect do you think that would have on the system of paid commercials?
I don't think we can ever get rid of those. A candidate still wants to get his message over exactly the way he wants it on his terms.
Does it bother you that much of the money that comes into politics these days is channeled back to networks and back to television stations for paid commercials?
Very little. Chicken feed.
In terms of the overall corporate
Chicken
structure?
feed. Doesn't bother me a bit. It's such a small amount. It's once every 4 years or something like that, and it doesn't affect the overall income or outgo of this corporation enough to put in your foot.
It may be chicken feed to television, but it's millions of dollars to candidates. Close to half of all the money in American politics today goes to television stations and to networks. 30 seconds of commercial time on this network can cost $54,000. That's $54,000 to use the public airwaves for the public's business. And a lot of it's the public's money. With federal financing of presidential campaigns, some of that money is going from taxpayer to candidate to television. It's a very American system. Profits and free enterprise are preserved, and everyone can blame someone else. Television can say it's the equal time laws. The politicians who made those laws can say that it's television's greed. They're both right. They're both responsible for a system that has reduced American democracy to little entertainments like this.
This is Nick Beluso. In the next 10 seconds, you will be hit with a tremendous hypnotic force. You may wish to turn away. Without further ado, let me introduce to you the hypnogenesis of mass hypnosis, the Reverend James G. Masters. Take us away, James.
Do not be afraid. I am placing the name Nick Beluso in your subconscious mind. You will remember this. You will vote on Election Day. You will vote Nick Beluso for governor. You will remember this. You will vote on Election Day. You will vote Nick Beluso for governor. You will remember this.